Hey there, just want to say happy Thanksgiving to you. It is Thanksgiving week, and that means that a lot of us have short weeks this week, and we are going to have a lot of fun with family and friends and turkey and food and all of the things that go into Thanksgiving weekend. And so I wanted to just take a little bit of time and talk about the other side of Thanksgiving that often we forget about, and that is what Thanksgiving was all about to begin with, which is thankfulness and giving thanks to God for his blessings. And we're going to do that in all kinds of ways. In your family, you're going to give thanks for what God has provided in your family. Maybe in your church, you're going to give thanks for what God has provided at your church. But I want to talk specifically about what we have to be thankful for as pastors, as preachers, as ministry leaders, as church leaders. There's so many things to complain about, right? There's so many things to be discouraged about. There's so many challenges. There's so many critics. There's so many obstacles in our way that often we can forget that we got into this because we felt a distinct and clear calling from God. And there is so much to be thankful for in the middle of even perhaps lots and lots of struggles. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to share just personally a few things that I am thankful for as a pastor, and then I hope to spur some thought and some gratitude in your heart as well, just as you think about this week and as you think about Thanksgiving and you think about your ministry, what you have to be thankful for. I hope that this will just serve as an encouragement and as a boost to you to say, you know what, there are some things that I'm deeply grateful for, and I'm going to take some time this week to give thanks for those things. If you don't know who I am, my name is Lane. This is Preaching Donkey. I have a free gift just for you. If you go to preachingdonkey.com/21 days, you can pick up my free 21-day guide to creating killer sermons. It's a 3-step process over 3 weeks that will just be a great Kickstarter for your next sermon, to give you some thoughts as you prepare your message, how to create maybe differently than you normally do, just as a bonus gift for you. That's at preachingdonkey.com/21 days. All right, so what am I thankful for as a preacher? Well, the first thing that I'm most thankful for is the support from my family. I would not have anywhere near the ministry, the capacity, the leadership that I have and that I've had over my ministry career if it were not for my wife, who is 100% supportive of my ministry, because really it's our ministry. It's not just mine, it's ours together, but also her support of what I feel like God has called me to do. There's so many sacrifices that you have to make when you are a ministry spouse that people don't see it from the outside. They don't realize it. And especially if you're in a church where there's just a big spotlight on the leadership, the spouses really take a lot of heat because people go to them and use them as a way to kind of message to you, and it can get really crazy. And then your kids, my kids are too young to really feel any of this, and I hope to prevent and try to guard them from a lot of this, but sometimes the expectations on your family, the expectations on your kids can be so unrealistic. They didn't ask for this, okay? But people will use passages like, if he can't take care of his own family, he shouldn't be an elder, to say that if somebody's kid makes a bad decision, that they're disqualified from ministry. So there's lots of pressure on pastors to have a nice, neat little family that everybody thinks is amazing. And that pressure, that expectation can really be pronounced on the wife, on the kids. And so I'm very grateful that my wife understood all that and said, let's go, let's do it, let's charge ahead. And fortunately, we don't get a whole lot of that. We've gotten it in the past. This season in our ministry, we haven't gotten it. It's been amazing. But I'm thankful to her because she's supportive of me. So in your life, do you have family that's around you? Do you have friends that's around you that if you think about those people, were it not for them, you wouldn't really be able to do what you do? Be thankful for them. Maybe write them a thank you card this week and give thanks to them and give thanks to God for them. Another thing that I'm thankful for is just honestly getting to do what I love. Ministry work, church work, leading in the church and serving church leaders. Kind of broad picture of what I do, including preaching, is work that I genuinely love. Not everybody gets to do work that they love, okay? I think it's amazing when people can find joy in work that isn't necessarily built around their passions, right? They're just working a job and they can still find joy in it because it's in service to the Lord. I think that's a really great thing. But I just recognize that I have a lot to be thankful for, that the work that I do for a living is work that I love and that fires me up. And so I know in the Preaching Donkey space, there are lots of people who are full-time in ministry. And so hopefully you can relate to this. There's people who are bivocational, meaning that they have 2 or more main sources of income, where perhaps their full-time job, this might be your situation, your full-time job is something else. And then the church is a part-time job, which we know is not really true. It's part-time pay, but it's probably full-time work. No matter what your circumstance is, when you're doing ministry work, it's important to remember that when you got into this, it was because it was work that you love. It was work that you felt called to do. It was work that you would look at other people doing it and you would say, one day I want to be on staff here. One day I want to lead a church. One day I want to be up there preaching. And that's not in everybody. That desire is not in everybody. That desire is in certain people that God places that in. And so that's why when Paul tells Timothy, if you aspire to preach, you aspire to do a good thing, okay? Because not everybody's called to do it. Doesn't mean it's an elite club. Don't misunderstand me. I'm just saying that I didn't realize when I was younger that not everybody wanted to be on stage talking. Not everybody wanted to be the one leading the trip. Not everybody wanted to be the one leading the church, okay? That's a unique thing. And so we all got into this because it was something we felt called to do, something we were passionate about, something that we were even a little bit envious of the fact that people got to do this as their living. And now here we are. Let's not lose sight of that. Let's remember that God put us in this place and that this is work that we love, and let's be grateful for it. So my question to you is, do you still love this work? And if you do, what are the things that you're thankful for in it? And if you don't love the work anymore, can you remember the things that kind of brought you into it and gave you that passion to begin with? Number 3, I'm thankful for the agony of sermon prep. I know this is crazy, but preparing sermons it's agonizing. It can be vexing. I have lots of systems for how to prepare sermons, how to deliver sermons. I've written 2 books on it. I've got an academy centered around it called Killer Sermons Academy. I write about it and speak about it every single week. And yet it's still, every single sermon is a new opportunity to make a difference in people's lives. And I understand the weight of every single sermon I preach. And so that process is and can be vexing and can be agonizing. And so that's why I work so hard to help you with systems and processes and workflows and a way to build an outline and a way to build out your points and a way to look at illustrations and application and a way to start your sermon and end your sermon. All the things we talk about at Preaching Donkey, those are all because the work is so important. And at the same time, even with all that, it can still be challenging because every sermon matters, every sermon is important. So we do all that because it's such an important thing. And so even though it's agonizing at times and it can be vexing, I'm being a little bit hyperbolic. It's not torture, but it is important, weighty work, okay? And if you preach, you know what I'm talking about. You got to stand up in front of people and you got to say stuff. You got to say stuff that is accurate and meaningful and biblical and clear and compelling and concise enough that people pay attention, but thorough enough where it's worth their time and is actionable so that they can walk out of there and do something with it. All of that has to happen. Oh, and by the way, it's great to be funny and tell some stories and make sure that you keep people engaged. All of that stuff's happening every time you prepare a sermon and deliver a sermon. And here's what I'm saying. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for all that because it's important work that I love and it's important work that you love. And so even every single sermon, to look at a blank page and say, okay, here we go. Let's start working on the outline. Let's start studying the passage. Let's start making sense of where all this stuff is going to go. I'm thankful for that process because it's an amazing, amazing privilege and joy to get to be able to do that, to stand up in front of people and speak on behalf of God. I mean, think about that. Like, we don't like to think about that because it just seems so weighty, but when you stand up with a Bible in your hand and you deliver a sermon, you are explaining God to people. You're explaining how he thinks. You're trying to make sense of his word. You're trying to give people ways to connect with him in their daily lives. That's a weighty task, and it's heavy. And so I'm thankful for all of that because it's worthwhile. You know, I have a video about overcoming nerves when you preach. And one of the things I talk about is that we get nervous when we preach. One of the reasons why we get nervous when we preach is because it's important work that we're doing. It matters. It's a big deal. And so I'm thankful for all that. Number 4, I'm thankful for the joy of fulfilling my calling. So this is just kind of all of it, right? Okay, I'm thankful for my family and their support. I'm thankful for the fact that I get to do what I love. I'm thankful for the agony of sermon prep. I'm thankful for all of it. And I'm thankful for the joy of fulfilling my calling. I'll tell you this, there's really nothing quite like making a difference in someone's life and them telling you about it. I was in student ministry for several years, and I still will sometimes get letters or Facebook messages. Sometimes former students will mail me a card in the mail. Got one the other day, and there was a gift card in there for my wife and I to go to dinner together, and there's just a little note from 2 former students of mine that are now married, and it said, "We would not be where we are today were it not for your help, were it not for your guidance, were it not for all the years of your ministry." I'm telling you, there's just there's nothing like that. Like that's amazing to get that. And I can't even begin to express, like, if I had chosen to do something different with my life, right? If I had said, you know what, this is my calling, this is what God wants me to do, if I'm going to do something else, I would forfeit all of that joy and all of that fulfillment of knowing that God used me to impact someone. And God changed their life, but he used me as part of that process. That's so unbelievably rewarding. And so in your life, in your ministry, are there things that are attached to your ministry and attached to your calling that you're thankful for? Maybe it's because you can see a direct correlation, that person that comes up to you after a service and they say, "I was about to give up on my marriage, but we're going to go to counseling now." Or, "I didn't think God loved me, but there's something you said that made me realize that maybe he does, and maybe there's a chance that my life can be put back together." What is it for you that you would say, this is what is so thrilling to me about fulfilling my calling? Think about that, right? Think about that this week, because we're giving thanks. There's a passage that I love. It's a simple passage. Here's what it says. This is in Psalm 107:1. "Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever." Something we've heard a lot, something we've sang about. But if you really think about that, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever. In your ministry, when you have struggles, his love endures through that. When you have challenges, his love endures. When there's someone who doesn't like what you're doing, they don't understand the decisions that you've made, his love endures. When you do something stupid, you make a mistake and it's embarrassing, his love endures. Do you see the fact that we give thanks to the Lord, for he is good? And in that, his love endures forever through everything. And so this week, think about that. Think about what you have to be thankful for. Those are my things. Those are my 4 or 5 things that when I think about what I'm thankful for, those come to mind. I'd love to hear from you when it comes to your ministry, when it comes to your preaching. What are the things that you are thankful for? And what are the things that keep you coming back through the struggle, through the pain, through the good times, through the bad times? And what are the things that keep you coming back for more? Because for me, it's my family support, it's my calling, it's the joy of knowing that I'm making a difference. It's even the vexingness of sermon prep. All of that makes a difference for me. What is it for you? I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Subscribe to this channel if you want more videos like this. Typically, we talk about preaching. We'll be back next week with another video about preaching. So subscribe on here. Be sure to go to preachingdonkey.com/21days to pick up your guide, and I will see you in the next video.